With COVID-19 making its way around the world, I decided to have a look at the Spanish flu pandemic of 1918 and how the artists of that time responded to it. I'm going to share with you some information about this time and 5 artists who either were inspired by the pandemic or died because of the flu. My name is Ella Pesonen. I'm a Finnish-Australian artist located in Melbourne. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I hope you stay. Please subscribe so you don't miss out on weekly art content. Before we talk more about the 5 artists, it's important to note that despite the Spanish flu killing up to 50 million people, the cultural trace of the pandemic is far and few. The reason there is no massive amounts of art about the Spanish flu is because it was played down quite a lot. Historians think this is because of the end of World War I. Instead of having to panic about yet another thing gone wrong in the world, people would rather have celebrated the end of the war. It wasn't unusual to go from a Spanish flu-related funeral on one street and walk 100 meters to a street full of people celebrating the end of the war. Not great social distancing, right? It is also interesting to note that hardly any visual monuments exist to commemorate those who were lost to the Spanish flu. It is thought that this is due to lack of visible heroes during the pandemic, such as doctors or people who come up with vaccines. And since modern art was still in its early legs, people did not really think about doing a more abstract monument to remember those who died. But now let's get to the 5 artists who either were inspired by Spanish flu or died because of it. Gustav Klimt was an Austrian symbolist painter. He is best known for his work The Kiss, which even those people who don't really know much about art would probably recognize. In early 1918, at age of 55, Klimt suffered a stroke. He caught the Spanish flu while he was in the hospital and died soon after. Klimt was a mentor to another Austrian painter, Edvard Schiele. After Klimt died, Edvard Schiele went to the morgue and sketched this drawing of his lost mentor. Schiele's story was a tragic one. Earlier in 1918, Schiele painted this portrait called The Family of himself, his wife and their unborn child. Only 6 months later, while his wife was still pregnant with their child, Schiele drew this picture very similar to the one that he did of Klimt only 1 day before she died. Schiele himself died 2 days after her. He was only 28. Edvard Munch was a Norwegian painter best known for his work The Scream. Munch was always interested in terminal illnesses, therefore it's not surprising that he documented the Spanish flu in form of self-portraits. He created 2 Spanish flu-related paintings. The first one was called Self-Portrait with Spanish Flu, the second one Self-Portrait After the Spanish Flu. In the first portrait, Munch is sitting on a chair with his mouth hanging open, pale and without eyes. His sickbed is visible in the back. The second portrait, After the Spanish Flu, shows his face with color returned to it, his eyes are focused, and behind him you can see his work desk, indicating that he has recovered. Another artist that may have found inspiration from the pandemic was Grosz. His work, Funeral, can be connected to the World War I and the pandemic existing side by side. The painting depicts a street full of people, nightclubs and cafes, but in the center there is a skeleton visible. This skeleton could point to the Spanish flu that was ravaging inside the celebrations for the end of the Great War. I'm sure this chaotic painting has plenty of different sorts of readings, but I feel that it can definitely be connected to the pandemic and the World War. In a strange street by night, a hellish procession of dehumanized figures mills, their faces reflecting alcohol, syphilis, plague. I painted this protest against a humanity that had gone insane. This is what Grosz said of his painting later on. The last artist whose life was cut short by the Spanish flu was Morton Livingston Schamberg. He was an American modernist. He died of the flu at age of 38. Before his death, he took this abstract photograph of the rooftops in New York called View of Rooftops. This photo to me feels like an empty concrete jungle, eerily similar to the pictures taken today in 2020 of the abandoned streets of large cities due to COVID-19. Do you know any other artists who were influenced by the Spanish flu that I didn't mention here? Please let me know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching today's video. I hope you found it informative. If you would like more art-related content, don't forget to subscribe and also give this video a thumbs up. See you next time. Bye!